indeed live on Facebook and my watch party. Therefore, I get to remove my glasses to give you a better viewing experience. And then we go live. So, well, here we go. If I remember the order in which I have to do this. You are listening to The American Soundbite, a podcast that features common sense thoughts of an everyday American. This is the start of the most valuable 10 minutes of your day. So congratulations on joining us. I'm certainly glad that you're here to be part of the conversation. Hey, before we start this morning, I'd like to ask you real quick. You've got friends, you've got family members, you certainly have coworkers who, well, aren't quite as intelligent and proactive as you are. They need some help from you. See that search button, whether you're watching us on, well, any of the live applications or you're listening to us on the Spreaker.com app. Share this episode with your friends, your family, your coworkers. Let them know that you start your morning by watching The American Soundbite, and they would benefit from it as well. So we're dealing with an issue in society here in America. Well, in certain areas of America that have, well, obviously sparked a lot of news, a lot of press, a lot of protests, a lot of vandalism. And that is, sadly, once again, police brutality. The police obviously are a huge organization when you look at, well, the national scope of them. And certainly there are police officers who, well, get the job to fulfill, I don't know, some deep-seated personal need of a feeling of responsibility. And they take things a little too seriously. They take things a little too far. Sometimes they take things way too far, as we saw up in Minnesota. But last night in Atlanta, Georgia, a black man was killed by a police officer, shot and killed outside of a Wendy's restaurant down there. The restaurant, after that, there were protests, and the restaurant was literally burned down to the ground. The police officer was fired. The police chief in the city of Atlanta has resigned, all kinds of stuff. I watched the video that's out on the media. This man, was intoxicated. He passed out in his car in the drive-thru of Wendy's. Wendy's called and said, there's a guy passed out in the drive-thru. So they came and they did a field sobriety test, and they were arresting him, and, well, as they were putting him on handcuffs, he scuffled, he resisted, he literally fought the police officer. He was able to get his taser off of his belt, and he started running away, turned around, and shot the taser at the officer, who then responded by shooting him with a bullet. Regardless of the response of any of that, and I'm not really here today's episode to talk about the abuse of power in some people in law enforcement, or certainly offer ways to fix that, because, well, that problem is way bigger than any one of us. However, there absolutely is a way to minimize the likelihood of anyone, yourself and me included, of having a serious confrontation with a police officer. And before I go into the solution, because I know that you're watching, because, well, this is like the magic bullet, if you will. This is a way to pretty much guarantee, not Absolutely. Because remember, there are those, those bad seeds out there in law enforcement. But for the most part, it absolutely guarantees that you won't end up in, well, getting shot or getting injured or getting killed or whatever. Outside of, those bad seeds that need to be eradicated and, well, imprisoned in most cases. But I watched on Facebook. It wasn't yesterday. It was a couple days ago. There was a video, again, of somebody who got pulled over on a freeway, and a cop went to the passenger side window and asked for the registration and, whatever they asked for, right? And the gentleman in the passenger side started reaching underneath his seat. He says for the, papers. But if a police sees anybody reaching under their seat, they're going to get pretty nervous because you could have any number of things underneath your seat. Here's a little point. A lot of criminals hide weapons under their seat. So don't reach under the seat. So the cop pulled out his gun and told him to, keep his hands where he could see them, and he called in for reinforcement. Well, that's when this guy's, the driver, his girlfriend, whatever, pulls out her phone and starts videotaping the whole thing. Well, the passenger is, "What the fuck are you doing, bro?" He keeps using the word bro in the thing. "What are you doing, bro? Why are you pointing a gun at me, bro? Hey, my hands are up here, bro. Why are you pointing a gun at me, bro? Don't stop pointing a gun at me, bro. You don't need to be pointing a gun at me, bro." And he literally is antagonizing the police officer who has a gun drawn. His finger, by the way, was not on the trigger. You can see that clearly in the video. However, he had his gun drawn. And throughout the video, the passenger and the driver are antagonizing the police officer. So if you've got a police officer that pulls you over or stops you walking or riding your bike or whatever, if you have somebody of authority, even if he's not a police officer, maybe she's a mayor, or maybe somebody who has authority, really just anybody, they don't even have to have authority. If you treat people with respect, now obviously this extends into the popo, but if you treat people with respect, they are going to respond in kind. When a police officer pulls you over, first of all, we all know that when you get pulled over, you've probably done something wrong. I've been pulled over. I've missed being pulled over. I tend to, be a little fast on the throttle, on the gas pedal when I'm driving on the freeway. Sometimes I will roll through a stop sign. Sometimes I'll speed up and go through a yellowish to pinkish light. Sometimes you get pulled over. And yeah, we all want to talk ourselves out of a ticket. Well, the way to talk yourself out of a ticket, the way to talk yourself out of jail, the way to do it isn't to be confrontational. When an officer pulls you over for whatever reason, if you comply, if you call him sir or her, I guess it would be ma'am, you treat them with respect, regardless of how they're acting towards you. You're not escalating the situation. See, in some of these situations, in some of these instances, it is up to you and me to take, really the leadership role, to take the responsible role, and to de-escalate situations. And how do you de-escalate the situation? Is by gaining control. How do you gain control? You treat them with respect. You call them sir or ma'am. You look at them in the eye, not aggressively, but you look at them in the eye. You smile a little bit. You say please and thank you. You do what they ask you to do. And in most of those situations, the person, even if they are alarmed to begin with, they calm down. And by the end of a couple of minutes, they may even be friendly towards you. They may even be at a point where they're like, I'm just going to give you a warning. don't run the red light right in front of the police station anymore. I'm not saying it'll work 100% of the time. I'm not saying that if you treat people with authority, with respect, that it means that you're going to get out of a ticket. I'm not saying that it means that you're not going to get arrested. I'm not even saying that it means that they're not going to push beyond the required amount of force or whatever. But what I am saying is that in a lot of instances, it is us who are escalating the situation. And if we don't do that, they aren't going to get as bad. Again, I'm not saying 100% of the cases. There are bad seeds out there. There are police that need to be weeded out of the force. There are cops who need to be imprisoned because of their use of excessive force. However, I'm talking just in general. You and I have the knowledge, we have the power, we have the ability to de-escalate almost every situation. Yes, our heart starts pounding when we start to see those red and blue lights flashing behind us. But if we take control and if we work to de-escalate a situation, there's all kinds of books and videos and audio books and podcasts about how to use your words, how to use your body language to de-escalate people. And if we learn to do that as a whole, as a society, a lot of violence will go away. Certainly a lot of cases where the police take hyper control of situations will be reduced. Again, I'm not saying all the time. I'm not saying we can always win. We're not always going to be perfect at it. But we have the opportunity, we have the ability to control an interaction with a police officer. And we have the opportunity, we have the ability to either escalate or de-escalate any interaction with a police officer. So all I'm suggesting is that in the case of last night, if you're being arrested, and again, this guy was intoxicated, he clearly wasn't thinking clearly to begin with. But if you're being detained, and if they're putting your hands behind your back and putting handcuffs on you, I don't know, don't resist, don't grab their gun, don't run. Even if you're not guilty, even if you shouldn't be being arrested, they take you downtown, a sergeant reviews it, and sometimes the sergeant says, there's really no cause here. Or the judge looks at it and says, there's really no cause here. Or you get an attorney and you fight it. And then the judge says, what the hell is this all about? And ends it right there. Point being, you and I have a lot more power to de-escalate and a lot of responsibility in escalating situations, confrontations with others, not just the police, with others, with people in our own lives. And we have the ability, when things get tense, to de-escalate them. We have the ability not to be confrontational, but to be supportive and to reinforce the other person's, need for a feeling of superiority. And in doing that, in letting them feel superior in instances like that, we win. So it's not always about proving you're right. It's not always about winning an argument. Sometimes letting the other person, win the argument or win the conversation or win the interaction means that we really win. And in the case of police officers, if we can de-escalate a situation, if we can make sure that, we don't get arrested or that we don't get shot or we don't get killed, then we definitely win. So I'm not saying it works 100% of the time. I'm not saying that we're perfect, just like the police officers certainly aren't perfect. But the reality of it is is that you and I carry some responsibility, not just for ourselves and our own interaction, but to help other people around us understand that when the police come up, we probably should, keep our hands visible, answer the questions in a positive way, interact positively with them, and help to de-escalate, and certainly never do anything that seems aggressive or sounds aggressive that will escalate the situation for them. Yes, they should be much better at de-escalating than we are. I mean, after all, they're in this day and night, and they do this constantly. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't take responsibility ourselves, learn how to do it, become effective at doing it, and encourage those around us to do the same. If everybody was really good at de-escalating situations, if everybody was really good at avoiding confrontation and minimizing it when we needed to, the entire world would be, a much better place. And I'm not just talking about the police. I'm talking about just in general. In our interactions with other human beings, the world would end up being a better place. So that is something worth thinking and talking about today. You have been listening to a broadcast of the American Soundbite. This is a podcast that features common sense thoughts of this everyday American. It has been the most valuable 10 minutes of your day, and I congratulate and, thank you for participating in the dialogue here today. Hey, before I let you go, if you like the content, if you like the format of this program, or if you have any suggestions, click on the like button, send us comments, and let us know what it is that you think, what we did great, and what you want to see more of, or what you want to see us do differently. All that information helps us to produce a better program and, makes it more enjoyable for you. We love interacting with you. While you're at it, find that share button. Let your friends, your family members, your co-workers know that they really need to start their day by listening to the American Soundbite. It's going to make them better people and give them a better day. Thanks a lot. Hope you have a great day, and God bless. All righty, and that is a wrap. Again, I thank those of you who are watching on our new Twitch feed for joining us. And it looks like we have had quite a few participants join us on the Facebook as well.